Hello, this is a video where we solve problems from chapter 7, and the first problem is exactly the same actually as the one in the lab. Select into statements to create copies, vendor copy and invoice copy from vendors and invoices respectively, and if they exist then do drop table first. Alright, take a moment and maybe write it yourself. I'll give you a moment to do that before showing the answer. And the answer is right here. First of all, drop table if exists statements for each of them. So if they exist, they are deleted. Second, we need to actually do the select into statements and create two copies of vendors and invoices. Let me run them. Oops. All right, here we go. And now select is just to show the results for vendor copy. And that was problem number 1. Okay, let's look at problem number 2, and we just need to write an insert statement, insert into, and we attempted to just do values and type up 32 and then 434 and so on. And I wonder if that would work. And the answer is no, it will not work. The reason why: the table invoice copy has a different order of columns that compared to what is given over here. So the first one would be like vendor ID indeed, I think, and the next one is invoice ID and so on. So the problem here is that this will just give an error. We will try to, for example, put a number where a date should be or a string should be, and you will see that this doesn't really work. So you have to do an explicit list of columns and list of values, and that is our solution to problem number 2. Well, now that you heard it, you might want to pause the video and write it yourself. And here is the answer. I listed in exactly the same way. I listed my column names, vendor ID, invoice total, terms ID, and invoice number, and corresponding values. And the statement is insert into invoice copy, column names, then values, and list of values. That is problem number 2, and something very similar is done is asked of you in the lab. Now, number 3 is a little bit more interesting. Let us read problem number 3. Insert that adds a row to the vendor copy table. Oh, yeah. So for each non-California vendor in the vendors table. All right, so basically we are trying to do something like that, and take your bet if that will work or not. So I will look at everything in the vendor copy. Let me see what is in vendor copy. And I do a basic statement, insert into sorry, I scrolled the book down accidentally. Insert into vendor copy. Bear with me because we are going to see something interesting. Select all from vendors where, and the name of the column vendor state is not equal to California. And that is the idea of what we want to do. Let's try to do that. Here is an error message. I will read it because it may be printed in small letters. So explicit value for the identity column vendor copy can only be specified if identity insert is on. Well, we have a choice. Either we are going to do the identity insert on, indeed, and that will be a separate statement before this query to copy exactly as it is, or we can copy without an identity column. What is an identity column? This one. So let me see properties. Identity column, true. So this is an identity column, and when we try to copy an identity, that is creating an error with the SQL server, because SQL server is supposed to assign the identities for any new roles that we are adding. So in this case, I just decide to copy it without the vendor ID column. And to do that, I want to select top 1000 rows, grab all columns except for the first one, and explicitly list them. Oh, sorry. There we go. Insert into this parentheses columns. I can list them in a slightly more readable way. Okay, and instead of star, I will do the same, only without the parentheses. And I think that will work. Sorry for horrible way that this is written. I'm just trying to get through this quickly. Here we go. We have added 47 rows, and now if we rerun what's happening in vendor copy, the last rows will be all other states other than California are starting from somewhere here. So the vendors table, let me copy over here. Where is it? From So the vendors table, everything from vendors table is copied except for where the row was, the last row was California.